Welcome to the Expand and Evolve podcast. My name is Carly Pinchin, and if you've never been here before, thank you so much for joining. I was sitting in bed this morning, taking a moment to just show gratitude for what I currently have. And this whole episode is going to be about kind of money manifestation, abundance, success. Like we're going to talk all of those things. And I'm going to pose you with some questions to start considering for yourself to just help guide you on kind of getting a lot more clear on like, what are you really wanting? What are you really wanting to call in? And what does success mean to you? What does money mean to you? What does freedom mean to you? What does manifestation mean to you? Like just starting to get clear on some things. And this all stemmed from I was kind of sitting here and I had a bunch of thoughts starting to come through and I was like, okay, let's record a podcast because if you guys have never been here before, I find it very therapeutic to just talk freely. And I find like at a certain point, I just kind of start talking. I have ideas of what I want to say, but things are just going to come out of my mouth. And I may jump around a lot, but we're just going to roll with it. Okay. So I was sitting in bed and I started thinking, okay, I'm in a transition period right now. I have a bunch of choices, decisions to make. And I'm trying to make the quote unquote best financial decision and making sure that I am smart and not over. Okay, here, I'll give you this. Okay, this will give context. So, about 5 years ago, when I was on the search to buy my first home, I fell in love with this house and it was quote unquote out of my budget because the mortgage was going to cost me like $10,000 a month. Okay. And back then, I remember looking at that number and rather than being like, I can't afford it, I went, okay, what do you need to be making in order to afford a home that has a $10,000 a month mortgage? So, first things first, like you should never impose limitations on yourself for what you can have and achieve. It's just sometimes in this current moment, it isn't your time yet. But when that thing comes up and you have something that you really want and desire, you have to start pre-planning and making it like starting to understand the circumstances you would need to be in order to have that thing. So back when I looked at this house, it was totally a dream home. I was looking at it and I was like, okay, do I know I'm going to be making enough money to afford this? I know that eventually I'll be in a position where this will be quote unquote easy. Okay. And obviously, like numbers are relevant to you. So it's like, even if the 10,000 is too much for you to think about, it could be a 1,000, a 2,000. Like the numbers don't really matter. It's the principle of it all. Right. And so I remember working it out because I must have heard somewhere like your mortgage payment shouldn't exceed about 30% of your total earnings and income. And so I went and factored that in. I went, okay, what do I need to be making per month if I want to be able to afford a $10,000 a month mortgage? And I worked out the number. I forget exactly what it was, whatever 30% is for 10 grand. What is that? Like, should I do the math? Um, okay, hold on. What is that? Can somebody help me? I wish I was on a actual call. Anyways, you get the point. Do the math after. I'm like, it's going to take too long. But I worked this out. Okay. And this was about 5 years ago. And in that moment, I was faced with, okay, do I take the leap and jump into this knowing I'm going to be making enough to afford this? Or do I stay a little bit safer and then plan for that in the future? And I chose to take the quote unquote safer route. Okay. So this was 5 years ago. I bought my first home and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going into a big financial decision like that, assuming I was going to make more money. Because at that time, I was like, this could put me into a place of scarcity. And if I go into a place of scarcity, fear, or lack, it's going to repel abundance from me. It's going to repel money from me. It's going to repel success from me because all of a sudden I'm going to be stressed out, fearful, anxious, and in a place of scarcity and lack. So I chose not to buy that home. Now I'm in a position right now where I'm looking to purchase another home again. Okay. And I'm kind of coming up to the same thing where it's like, okay, now I'm in a position where the home that I do want to buy, it fits the exact number. Like when I was looking 5 years ago, I'm finally in that position now where like I could afford the mortgage that I had to pre-plan for 5 years ago. And this is where we're going to talk about success, manifestation, the goals that you want to achieve, all the things. Okay. So we're going to jump into that. But this is where it's so important sometimes to I think we're hearing so much about abundance and success and like just take the leap. And yes, you you should assume like the best and that you're going to have success and all the things, but you also need to be intentional and smart in the physical world that you are living in and the current moment right now. And in this moment right now, it's like you have to choose what feels good to you, not out of choosing out of a place of fear, scarcity, and lack, right? Like I didn't choose the house I'm currently living in out of that place, but I did choose it out of this feels easy and comfy for me and zero stress. And so I would rather have that. And this is something that I've applied through the last 5 years when I'm making big financial decisions is this putting me into a place of like where I feel a little bit stressed out, where it's a little bit too much of a bump or a push that now I'm like, ooh, like feeling this pull. Does this make sense? Where it's like now it's creating a resistance. And I think you need to be really mindful when you make financial decisions to be careful of that, right? And understanding what that feels like for you versus taking a jump that's going to put you further ahead, where sometimes that's still going to feel a little bit scary and uncomfortable, but it's not putting you into like a super stressed out state. Does this make sense? And so, an example of this could be like if you're going to buy a car and you know, like you're ready, you can afford it, but it feels scary because you've never purchased a car that's that expensive. Or for example, you've never purchased a house that's that expensive. So it can feel uncomfortable because it's different than what you've ever done before, but it's not a financial choice that's like putting you in the hole. Does this kind of make sense? And so, with the current situation that I'm in, I was sitting here this morning because I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. If you guys have listened to my podcast before, there was a home I almost purchased back in February. Everything about it was feeling like it was a little bit too soon. It felt a little bit stressful. It didn't feel like it was super aligned. It felt like I felt very anxious and nervous, not nervous, just like a little more uppity about it all. And then this time with this home, I'm feeling so peaceful and like, yep, it's all flowing and it's all good. And I don't feel stressed and I feel like I've got it. Um, and that's kind of the feeling that you want to have. Like you don't want it to feel super stressful because you want to be able to still be creating and manifesting and calling things in. And if you're in a super stressed out scarcity place because you put yourself in a bad financial decision or like financial position, sorry, it, um, could create the opposite. Okay. And not that there's anything wrong with spending money or like pushing yourself or doing anything like that, but it's like what energy can you maintain through it? And that's going to be you personally, right? Because like I could tell you, oh yeah, no problem, like go do that thing, and I could handle it. Maybe I could handle it. Like I could go, like when I bought the California house, like I could maybe handle doing that and having an extra like financial thing on my shoulders, where for you it would put you in a state of stress and panic and scarcity, and then now it's repelling everything else away from you. Does this make sense? So it's like that's where you have to start to get to know yourself and what works best for you. Some people need to really push themselves out of their comfort zone and do the things that scare them, and then more is on the other side. And then there's other people who's like you need to scale it back because you make like lousy financial decisions, right? And so anyways, with this house right now, I feel like I'm in that limbo place of, okay, by making this choice, right, which I know I can do, it is pushing me a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And so this whole 8 minutes that I've been talking about this, I'm like, okay, I'm also on no caffeine because I'm doing a parasite cleanse. And I swear I had so many ideas coming through and now I'm like talking in loops. So I apologize. Um, but anyways, I feel like it's pushing me a little bit outside my comfort zone, but I almost think it's a good thing. Like it's forcing me to have that faith. Like like I'm on the brink of even more abundance, success, financial, growth, all the things, but it's going to take me taking this leap. And I think there's certain times in our lives where we're forced into these positions where it feels a little bit scary. It's a little outside our comfort zone. It's pushing us to a new level or boundary or like quota, like I don't know, like a threshold maybe that you've never really come up to before. And I feel like that's what I'm in right now with this decision is it's pushing me to a new threshold where it's like, okay, in theory, I know everything is good. I have enough money to do it. I feel good about it. I know what's coming in the next 6-12 months, right? I feel good. But it's like taking that step and that leap and trusting with full faith that because of my faith, my mindset, the things that I'm doing, that it's heart centered, that it is in service to other people, that it's all going to come back to me and it's all going to work out. But it's like taking that leap can be really scary. And I feel like for me right now, I'm not going to see the next level of financial abundance and success until I make this leap. Because right now I'm playing small. Does this make sense? So like you could be playing small in your life right now in certain areas where you're kind of afraid, which means like you're operating out of the frequency of fear. If you're scared to make a decision, you're operating out of fear. You can't be operating in a fear state and still have like the wealth of abundance and like success and opportunity and growth that is available to you when you're operating in a state of fear and in that frequency. And so I keep reminding myself, like, where is this decision coming from? And if I'm sitting in a place of, oh, sorry, let me mute and cough for a sec. If I'm sitting in a place of fear, like, okay, what am I creating out of that space? And how can I move out of it? And where is this fear coming from? And so I was sitting this morning because I went, okay, I'm about to make the decisions. And I also feel like I have to get very clear to manifest and call in exactly what I want. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And so I sat there and I went, let's just hold space and gratitude for everything you already have. Like rather than thinking about the next decision and the next thing that you want to do, let's just sit here for a moment and hold some gratitude for what you've already accomplished. And so I want to call all of you guys to do the same thing. So I wrote a couple notes, but when was the last time you showed gratitude for what was already in your life? So whether that is like the financial support of somebody else, like if you're a single mom and you have child support coming in, rather than being, like, oh my God, he's not paying, or oh my God, I wish I had more, and oh my God, he should be paying this. And when's the last time you just had gratitude for that amount of money coming into your life? If you have a full-time job right now, even though you could hate it, even though it might not feel aligned, even though you don't like going to a 9 to 5, even though it's not really what you want to be doing and you have a business that you really want to be building, when is the last time you sat there for a moment to hold space and gratitude for what it is currently giving you? The fact that it might be supporting you and paying your bills, that it might be paying for the car, paying for the house, paying for the things that are allowing you to live your life right now. And in addition to that, like holding space and just gratitude for your current income. Maybe you want it to be double or triple or quadruple, but are you holding space and gratitude for what it is right now? And then in addition to that, like even being in a position where you have, if it is financial support or it is stability in your life or your bills are paid for, and like even though you want more, and it's totally fine to want more and be wanting to call in more and create more and have a bigger house and like be able to travel and have more money because it gives you freedom, like none of that is wrong or bad. You should be wanting more. However, when's the last moment that you like actually held gratitude for what you do currently have and all the ways that, whether you believe in God, source, universe, has shown up for you and gotten you to this point? Because if we're never holding space and gratitude for what we have right now, how are we ready to receive more? We're not. And so I sat on my bed this morning and I just sat there and I went through everything that I currently have. Like, thank you so much for this house and providing me an opportunity that allowed me to get in a position to purchase this house. Like it served me so well at that time in my life. And it gave me something that I had always wanted, was to be able to buy my own first home. So rather than me thinking so future forward of everything that I want now, like really holding space and feeling so grateful for what I currently have and my life 5 years ago that brought me to this point to have what I have right now. Because without that thing, I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't be in this position to even be thinking about making these other choices, right? And same thing for you. I'm sure there's things in your life that you wouldn't have had the choice to make 5 years ago that you could have now because of things that have shown up in your life and put you in the position that you're in right now. So regardless of financial situation, like how can you feel gratitude for what you currently have, even if you're still wanting more? The next thing too, like really thinking about how you're building a relationship, like with whether you say God, source, universe, doesn't matter. Even if you're someone who's just spiritual and wants to manifest, you need to almost give positive reinforcement. And so I sat there and I just went like, thank you for this house. Thank you for the opportunity. I said, thank you for all the other things that I have in my life. And I just went, wow, like really soaked it in for the fact that everything I've been able to create and accomplish over the last 5 years, like to actually hold a moment of gratitude for it and give positive reinforcement in the sense that like, thank you so much for putting me in this position and allowing me the opportunity to have what I have right now. And even being in a position to start thinking about these next steps and the things that I want to create, rather than being in a space of, because right now, everything that I want to create, I need more money for. right? And so it's like the things that I really want, I need more money. And so I want to make more money. I want to call more money in. I want to be in a different position so that I can truly have everything my heart desires, but that's going to take money. And I think you need to be in a place where that doesn't feel wrong or bad. Like ideally, what I would really love is to buy like 200 acres of land, build a massive compound with all of my closest friends, family, people that make sense within the community, go build our own community farm, community playground, to like do all of these things. Eventually have a private jet since we'd probably be off grid and we'd need a plane because we like to still travel. Like all of these things, right? So being back, communicating with nature, living in nature, living in community, creating a village, living off the land, growing our own food, being self-sustained, but then having the ability to still travel because I don't want to just live in the boonies and then have to stay there forever. Like I still want to go explore this world. So I'm like, in a perfect world, I could go buy that, create that, have space for everybody to come live that wants to. And then maybe we have a private plane or like a pilot that lives there in order to be able to fly us to the main airports to get us where we need to go. Does this make sense? So it's like none of that is really like, I want a Bentley and a 85 carat ring and all the designer clothes. Like, no, it's not about anything that's necessarily materialistic. This is just about creating community. But guess what? That costs money. To be able to go buy land and build the homes and even build the garden beds and like buy the animals and be able to still move and travel and have freedom, like it costs money. So if you still have a weird money story that money's bad and money's evil, like no, money gives you options. Money gives you freedom. Money gives you the ability to live the life that you really want to. That's the value of money. And I think we've all been so conditioned to like, oh, like, and if you haven't started reading books about understanding where these kind of concepts come from, I'm going to talk about this too, because it started in my group chat earlier, where like you could think money is bad or money's the root of all evil or that it's selfish to want money. No, if you don't have money, like if you literally had no money in the way that the world is right now, you're starving, you're poor, you're homeless, and who are you helping? Who are you helping and how are you making an impact if you have $0? Like you can't live your healthiest life. You can't impact the people you want to impact. You can't help those people that don't have what you have. So it's like, no, if you have a weird story about money, you need to work on that because if you want to make an impact in the world as it is right now, the currency that we use to do anything is money. Maybe 2,000, 5,000 years ago, I don't know when, but it's like when it used to be a barter system and you would trade things and you would grow your animals because we didn't, everything wasn't costing money back then. That's different. But in the world right now, everything costs money. So you need to get okay with the fact that you're gonna need money in this life if you want to make an impact on anyone or do anything or live the life that you really dream of. You need money. And we were talking about this earlier. So step one, hold space. Like even if you pause this right now, put your hands on your heart and really just take a moment to be like, I am so grateful for everything that I currently have. And you can repeat this out loud, but I'm so grateful for everything that I currently have, what money has allowed me to do within my life so far, the ability to take care of myself, take care of my family, be able to do the things that I need and want to do. And I'm grateful for it all, but I'm ready to call in more. And you could pause this, you could think about what that is, you could hold space for a moment and just really start to think of all the things you really are grateful for, whether it be your job, how money comes in, it could be government support, it could be whatever. Just be grateful for the amount that you currently have. Because if you're not grateful for what you currently have, then you're not ready to have space to call in more. If it's coming from a place of greed and scarcity, you're not ready to have more. So you need to really, really be in that grateful place for it to show universe, God, whatever, that you're ready because you're in that state of gratitude. You understand truly what you already have, that you're ready to receive more and that you have the capacity and the responsibility to do with it what you need in order to make an impact. I truly am in a place in my life where I'm like, the best way to achieve financial abundance and success is through a servant heart. I think the place that we're in our lives, of course, you could go build out of fear and anger and greed and like go make a bunch of money. But I really, truly believe that anything built out of the ego must die. And I feel like that's the phase of our lives that we're in. And so if you see certain people's business crumbling or like people are losing things or whatever. Not to say that they're bad people, but the root and the energy that they built that thing from, it might have needed to die in order to create space for them to go create and build something out of a heart-centered service place of others. Does this make sense? Because it's like if you're building still right now in your life in order to show other people that you're successful, or go do it because of what this person said in high school, or like to make sure that you can show people you're successful in order to get something in return. Like that's not the energy you want to be building from. You want to build because you're like how I just said, I would love to have all that money in order to be working with Mother Nature, be able to get back rooted and connected to the earth in the way that we're supposed to and how things are meant to kind of be on this planet, and then support community and village for others. That is not a me thing. Is it nice? And would I love to be able to do that the same way I want money to be able to build the school? I just talked with the builder yesterday. It's going to cost me like $150,000 to build the building that I want. Okay, so if I don't have any money, how am I building that $150,000 building and then having the land in order to have the farm animals, in order to have these kids come to my house and learn in a different capacity than the school system of how it is right now? If I didn't have money, I would be sending my kids to regular school because I don't have another option. Does this make sense? So it's like, again, money is not a bad thing. It's how you want to use it. And yeah, does building this school benefit my children and me a little bit? Yeah, but it's more out of the way of I want to be able to have a space for other people and to start shifting the way that we are doing school, especially with boys. Boys are not meant to sit in a desk all day at a school, like for 8 hours at a school desk. Like it makes them feel like they're a failure. It makes them feel like there's something wrong with them because it's not how they were meant to live. It's not how they're meant to learn. They're meant to learn by moving, by being, by doing things hands on, by feeling like they have purpose and responsibility, by showing that they're able to help and contribute. So in order to do that, I need to create a school because the current school system doesn't allow that. So again, money is allowing me the opportunity to even have these conversations and be able to create what I really want to create, which costs money. Okay, so take gratitude, number one. The next thing that I want you to do is you need to get clear on what you're manifesting. So I was sitting there and I went, okay, let's just be real. Have I been crystal freaking clear with what I want to call in? And has it been out of a place of need? Because like that needing energy, let's just take it for a second. Like if I'm like, I really need a man. Like I just want a man because then I can be able to do these things and like, then I'll have what I really want. And then I'll have love. And I just need a man to feel love and to be able to build this house and do all these things. Okay. No, that's out of a like needy, weird energy and wait. So it's like, if you're doing things out of that waiting energy, like when I have blank, then I will blank. You need to be able to take action right now. And so that waiting energy, that needing energy, that's also repelling things from you because you're not in your power. You're outsourcing it to other things outside of you, feeling like when I have that, then I'll have this. Does this make sense? And so you need to get really clear. What are you calling in right now? What do you really want? And have you gotten crystal clear with those desires? And I had to do this because when I started the house hunt search, and I'm using real examples, apply this to your life for whatever you're trying to call in. It could be a business, a partner, a home, a different financial situation, like whatever, right? It could be travel, doesn't matter. But for me, I went, oh, well, I haven't really, like, I've been really open to like, oh, well, maybe I should just kind of like let go of what I really want in this space because I don't know what's best for me. And so like, I'll just look at anything. And I had to go, no. Like I need to get way more clear on what it is I want. I know what I want. I know what I desire. And so I had to create a list. And so I started writing out a list, just like with a partner. I have a PPV episode that like teaches you how to do this, where you get really clear on like presence, personality, and values of the type of partner you want to call in. I did the same thing with the house. And so I went, okay, the land, I want it to be like this. I'm not even messing around with 1, 2, 3 acres. I want it to be 5 plus. If I know I want it to be 5 plus, why am I even wasting my time looking at 1, 2, or 3 acres? Does this make sense? So it's like getting crystal clear on certain details so you know what you're calling in. And I had to sit there and be like, I know I am powerful. I know that if I'm meant to be in this home that I'm looking at right now, I can call that in, because if I'm meant to be there, it's not my power. It's like higher power, spirit guides, God, whatever is up there being like, no, this is where you're supposed to be. I can't control it. And so I'm like, if it's what I really want and I'm ready for this, then I need to get really clear that this is the next thing. And so I sat there and I just kind of went, okay, Like, I'm ready to sell this house because, again, I have to let go of this phase of my life, this house, which is going to be really sad. The house that I'm looking at right now isn't as nice as this one, but it has the land and I'm seeing it with like bigger picture. So I'm having to drop my ego and be able to face the fact that I'm not going to have a nice kitchen and all these nice things that I really want for a little bit until all the renovations are done. And being okay with this and being like, no, I'm good with this. Like, I'm good to let this go. I'm ready to sell this house. I'm ready to make this move. I'm ready to take this next step, even though it's a bunch of uncharted charted territory, things that I have never had to navigate before. I've never had to build something. I've never had to run to school. Like, these things are scary, you guys. Things that I'm wanting to do in this next phase of my life. I've never done it before. I could easily choose to stay in my comfort zone right now of what I know, which is this home, and it's easy and it's not really taxing on me financially. Like, it's easy. I'm playing it super safe, but it's not putting me at that next phase of my life and what I really want. So I need to be willing to let go of this safety net I've created and be willing to take this next step into this unknown, uncharted territory of things that I've never navigated before in order to get closer to the thing that it is I really want. And it's scary. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never had to deal with renos, hire a builder, pay for this kind of stuff before. Like, no one in my life has paid for this kind of stuff before. It's different, new, and kind of scary. But I also know that I'm like, if anyone can do it, it's me. I know I have the power. I know I have the ability. And if it's all meant to be, and this vision that I have in my mind really is for the greater good, then it's all going to work out perfectly. And you need to come to that same level of faith and trust that whatever you're calling in, if it's truly for the greater good, whether it's the greater good of you personally, your family, or humanity, those things all matter and those things are important. And it's out of your heart. Like, anything you're creating out of your heart typically is well intentioned. And if it's well intentioned, and even if it's a small scale, like it just impacts you and your child right now, but it's coming from your heart because you love that child. And so you need to start making more money in order to benefit them in their life. That's from your heart. That's great. That's in service of humanity, even small scale, because ultimately it comes from you taking care of yourself, your direct immediate family. Once those needs are taken care of, you can start thinking about others. You can't think about others and how you're going to impact this world in a bigger way until those needs are taken care of. So it's like that needs to be number one. Anyways, where was I going with this? So choosing what you want to manifest. So you may already know what you want, or you may not know. Either way, you need to work it out and be super specific with what you desire when you're asking God, universe, whatever. Because if you're not being specific, they cannot deliver. You have to get clear. So if you're in a season of your life right now where you have not gotten clear and you're like, oh yeah, I just like, I don't know, love would be good, or like, yeah, a new house. Okay, well, a new house, like you could have one that's, 500 square feet. You could have a new house that's great, but it's not what you really want. Like, does this make sense? So you need to take the time to get clear. You need to get to know yourself. You need to ask for what you want unapologetically. Write it down. So every time you're thinking about what you want to call in, it's true to you and your heart, and it's actually what you desire and you want. So, just basically don't be too vague. And instead of choosing something like happiness, for example, it's getting clear on like, okay, what are the things that you feel bring you happiness? Because if you just say, I want happiness, okay, well, what are the things that you're associating would make you happy? And actually ask for those things. The next thing that I was going to take you guys through is, and I wanted to kind of talk about this too, like just where you've come up with your money blocks from, because before we jump into this next exercise that I want to take you guys through, and obviously if you have pens and paper for this one, this is going to be good. But I was in my group chat this morning with some of the managers on my team, and I was just saying, like, where did you learn to just settle and not call in more and not feel that you're deserving of all of the money, and financial freedom and abundance in the world? Where did you learn that? Because by nature, like me watching my own children right now, they talk about money. They're like, I'll have a billion, jillion, cajillion dollars. They say everything in millions. They don't talk about dollars. They don't talk about not being able to afford things. They don't talk about things being expensive. Like, they don't understand limitations. There's the only limitations I ever see are the limitations they put on themselves through feelings of fear and unknown, right? Which I think is very normal. Like, if you observe your children, you'll see this, that we all have certain things that scare us because it's unknown. I don't think that's an imposed thing from a parent. I think that's individual to human nature. Like when something's new and unknown, unless you have someone on the other side kind of encouraging you and telling you that you can do it, it feels scary. It's like the same thing I'm going through of uncharted territory. You've never done it before. It can feel really scary to take that leap when you don't have anyone else telling you like you're going to be okay on the other side. And so the only time I see them fearful or have limitation is usually like making a really big jump they don't know if they can do, or trying something physical with their body that they're not sure they're capable of. And they need to be taught that and encouraged through it, and then they're able to do it. But when it comes to what they feel they can create or do or build or money or have in this world, zero limitations. So those limitations are imposed from people. Those limitations are imposed from their caregivers, from the people, from us as parents, the things that we end up saying that they end up believing as truth. And I was talking with some of the girls and I said, where did you learn that? Because if you think that people, like, think about this for you guys, if your parents were employees, right? They worked 9 to 5s or more. They worked 2 jobs. They had to work really hard. They were never around because they were always working. They were reliant on a like paycheck to paycheck, and they were always telling you like, wait till next paycheck, wait till we get paid, or we don't have money for that right now, or we can't afford that, or like creating these images around people with money. And it could be really minor in the things that people say, or even creating separation. Like somebody wrote, let me just read it for a second because this was really powerful. She had said that her parents, so she was saying how her dad is so broke and he always just says that he's waiting on the lottery. Okay, well, maybe that was your parents, where they literally bought lotto tickets because they didn't understand that they had the power to create whatever they wanted, that they could be the ones that created change, that they were the ones responsible for their financial situation. But if you were born into poverty, or you were born into low income, or you were born into even like middle class, where, yeah, you had your needs met, but you didn't have the ability to travel whenever you wanted. Your parents were very much like 9 to 5, very routine, never really did anything out of the norm, never really spent a lot of money, never spent money on themselves. You never saw them do like pay for personal growth or development. Like they didn't pay for anything aside from your basic needs. Okay, well, you're going to have limitations just through what you grew up around, to sometimes feel like, oh, those things are not necessities, or they're not worth it, or they're not smart to spend money on. You also could be afraid to make financial choices because you never saw anyone make big financial choices because they were always rooted in fear and not enoughness. She also said that he'd always say rich people are horrible, slimy people. Like, this is another thing. You could be under the impression that people who are successful fill in the blank, right? Like you could have some image of what you think about people who are rich. You could also have this idea of like, oh, people with money, like that's why people are broke, because all the rich people take all the money. No, there is an endless surplus of money. You are the one that gets the ability to make however much of that you want to make. And that comes from your self-imposed limitations and beliefs, which a lot of them were passed down to you through your parents. And that's on you now as an adult to decide that you're going to rewire, rewrite, and create a different story. You're the one that has to do that. You have to start doing the work to like unprogram those beliefs that have you thinking that you're meant to live in fear, scarcity, and lack, and that you can't have anything that you want to have in this life. Like you 1000% can. You can create whatever it is you want to create, but it all starts within your mind. You have to feel it within your body. You have to change the frequency. You have to change the energy that you're operating from, and start to believe that you actually have the ability to create whatever it is you want to create in this world. And for some of you, you may be totally happy and content with where you are right now. But I would challenge you and say, like, what is making you feel like that's enough? Because if, no offense, but like if the only person you're impacting right now in the state of the world is you, like your needs are taken care of, you're cushy, you're just hanging out with your fam. Like obviously not everyone is meant to go and impact the world in a massive way, but I would challenge you to say, like, if you have an opportunity to be making more money and you're not capitalizing on that, especially if, like, I know a bunch of you that listen to this are in the network marketing space, you have an opportunity where you get to literally impact and change lives. And by you building a business and growing, you're able to help others have more success, build more income and earnings for themselves. Like you have an opportunity that you can give people where they could completely change their financial situation if they choose to utilize it. if you're not building a business and you're not doing any of that, you're not providing these people this opportunity, and it's sitting there right in your lap in order to help all these other people who are really struggling that don't know that this opportunity is out there. And I would encourage you, like, think on that for a minute, because you're making it all about you when really, if you started to shift your perspective and realize, like, wait, I can impact the world in such a massive way by sharing this opportunity, helping people learn how to build businesses, like, that feels so good. It feels so good to help other people achieve financial success, to get out of their situations that they're currently in where they're not thriving. So I want to do this exercise with you, okay? And again, like, start just looking at like where those limiting beliefs are coming from, and start to really think, like, what did your parents always say about money? Start thinking about all of that, because a lot of those beliefs are probably still impacting you today. Okay, so this is just an exercise where it helps you dream a little bit bigger. So if the sky is the limit and money wasn't an object, what are the 5 things you would want to do in life? I'm going to repeat it in case you guys are driving. Start thinking about it. But if the sky is the limit, money isn't an object, what are the 5 things you would want to do in life? And really let yourself think on that. Like, don't think about the self-imposed limitations that you've had on yourself. There could be things that you want to do you're not even aware of yet because of the limitations that you have on your current life. And for some people, like, you've never traveled, so you don't even know that you want to travel. It's not going to be one of the things that you say because you've never even had the opportunity to start traveling for you to realize, like, wait, I love this. I want to do this. I want to see more of this world. So an example might be travel, right? It might be like, what would your job be? What would your goals be if you didn't have money as a limitation, right? Or a thought about, okay, I have to stay at this job because I make this much money. Like, truly, what would you do? What would you love to do? What would you enjoy doing? Think about it. So would you travel? Would you change the goals that you have? If money wasn't an object, would your goals be different? Because some of your goals could be all money focused right now. And if you've had those same goals for a really long time, maybe you need to shift it, and it can't be financial focused. They need to be different goals for you to focus on and like rebuild your confidence and your power within yourself. And then money will end up coming from that. So what would your job be? And I think it's starting to just really think, like, where would you live? What kind of house would you have? What kind of car would you drive? Um, what would you want to accomplish? Who would you want to impact? Really start thinking, like, if money wasn't an object, what are 5 things you'd want to do in this life? Who would you want to be? Like, this is a question I always ask people when we do Drinks and Dreams events. Like, who would you want to be in 5 years, 10 years? Who would that person be? If you had all the money things taken care of and money wasn't an object, like, would you do Pilates every day or yoga every day? Like, how would you start your mornings? What would you do? It's important to start reflecting on things like this because it starts to allow you to focus on what your desires actually are without the external influence of money and pressure that can provide. So when you're able to really start thinking, like, let money out of the equation, what do you really want? You may realize there's parts of you that you desire and, like, you could actually start maybe doing right now. There are things that maybe you are so feeling so much stress and pressure because of money, that the weight it puts on your life, you're not even able to see what you truly desire. And when you're able to start seeing what you truly desire, then you're able to start moving toward that thing and figuring out ways that you can incorporate either that feeling or moving closer toward that thing in your day-to-day life right now. I feel like the point I want to make, I'm not even sure if I've made it by doing this podcast episode. Caffeine makes a big difference. I will just say that. But one other thing I kind of wanted to say is focusing on good habits too. I listened to a podcast the other day and it hit me like a ton of bricks. If you guys are following me on Instagram, you know, I've been dealing with different like health things, I guess you could say. I'm a healthy person. I know a lot about nutrition. I cannot explain it in any other way than I'm being forced to purify my life in a way that I never have before. Meaning I'm usually live pretty low toxic, you know, non-toxic skincare, makeup products, but like I started switching up with deodorant and not being as careful. I started not being as careful with the laundry detergent I was using. I it just kind of slipped up in different areas. I was eating out a little bit more, like stopping and grabbing a burger. Okay, no big deal on the burger because I wasn't worried about that, but it was like it's fast food, so imagine what's kind of in that, you know? Um just different things that I noticed myself doing that I never really used to do. And I've been having allergic reactions. I've been having eczema breakouts all over my face. I've been having rashes in my armpits. I can no longer wear deodorant. I can no longer have certain foods. Like I the only time I don't have reactions is when I eat at home. If I eat out, almost guaranteed something's going to happen. I either end up super inflamed, super bloated, feeling like I'm literally 10 pounds heavier because of the water retention and the inflammation that it gives me. Um, it's just, yeah. And so, anyways, the reason I bring this up in a money and manifestation episode is because your body is your vessel of what you create in this life. And I learned this from Danny Morell. He talks about the three energies of human mastery: relationships, finances, and health. And I've started to learn that all three are so interconnected. And if one area is out of whack, one of the other areas is going to be impacted. And like there was a season in my life where I was growing and building my business and bringing in so much money, but my relationship took a hit and my health wasn't a priority. And so it's like learning the harmonious balance of the three, right? But at the same time, um, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was listening to this podcast and he talked about how our body and this vessel that we're in, so many of us kind of overlook it. And we've been taught to think about our body in weight, like only eat healthy because like you need to lose weight. And then there was the whole self-love and body love movement that allowed us to like, no, you don't need to be on a diet. You don't need to starve yourself. And it's not about just being skinny. You can be strong and you can eat what you want and like food freedom. And all of that is amazing. But are you actually healthy? Because what I started noticing over the last year was I was eating quote unquote well, but I wasn't eating tons of alive, nutrient dense foods. I used to cook from home with tons of veggies, tons of fresh food, and I was getting lazy. Like I was drinking a meal replacement shaker, like just having eggs or just having chicken and like something else, but I wasn't filling my plate with tons of whole food, nutrient dense foods, which is a variety of veggies or fruits. I wasn't even eating fruit because I was like, oh, my kids eat the fruit. So I like saved the fruit for my kids and I wasn't eating the fruit. So in the last year and a bit, I started noticing like, even though I'm quote unquote healthy, I move my body, I do all the things, my nutrient intake was low. I wasn't prioritizing my nutrient intake like I normally do. And so no wonder my immune system might be shot or like, I don't know. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a toxin overload maybe somehow, and I'm not sure from what. Um, but anyways, that's what brings me to doing this parasite cleanse. And the reason I bring this up is because that podcast I listened to, the way he explained it, of how our body is truly our, like we think of God and source as this thing outside of us, right? Especially if you've been raised in religion, where it's like our bodies though are that conduit to that relationship that we have with God, source, divine universe. And we've been detached from that through thinking of our bodies, especially as women, as something to judge, shame, think is fat, think is ugly, think isn't good enough. It's put all of our energy and hate towards this thing that is the only reason that we're here, the only reason that we even have a relationship with God or can manifest or create anything. And we're sitting here as women, especially hating our bodies. If you're in the energy of that, like imagine the frequency and what that's doing to your cells. You're a living, breathing organism. We wonder why we have autoimmune, cancer, all the things skyrocketing. Yeah, it might be toxins. Yeah, it might be our environment. Yeah, it's probably the food, the pharmaceuticals, the things that we're taking in. Yes, it's all of that. And the thoughts that we think about our bodies. If you speak hatred toward yourself and your body, and even though you're not saying it out loud, you might be thinking it all the time, your cells feel that frequency. They feel that vibration. The same way if you were to go to sound bowl healing and listen to frequencies and have people speak life and love over you, you're going to look different, feel different. Your cells are living. Think of all of the cells in your body as this, like these little babies that are just like so happy to be serving you, and you're hating it. You're hating this vessel and this vehicle that you're in. What do you think is going to happen to your body and your life? Of course, you're going to start to manifest and create disease because you are speaking hatred over it, even if it's just in your mind. And I know if you guys have listened to other podcasts, like I'm guilty of this too. I used to struggle with the worst body dysmorphia. I was miserable and mean to myself and my body, like mean. And I just realized like I wasn't really prioritizing my health the way I should be. And I cannot explain it other than for me to enter this next level of my life and this next level of, call it whatever, spiritual enlightenment, connection to God, source, divine, like me being able to call in this next phase of my life, me being able to communicate with our senses in a different way, to create and manifest and call in more abundance. I've been called to purify this vessel, which is the connection to it all. And it's funny because since I've started talking about this, I have a lot of other women who have been messaging me and they're like, wait, I'm having reactions. I'm having these things happen. And I'm noticing these things about myself that have never happened before. I've never had an allergy before, you guys. Never in my life. And it could be our surroundings and the things happening on this planet and like it's summer. And so all the stuff that they're spraying things with, I don't know. But in addition, like I've known this, and this is where manifesting and like when you start to build that connection and that relationship with God or universe, whatever, you get whispers. I've been getting the whispers. I've been getting the whispers for a while. Purify. You need to purify. You need to purify. I say this out loud to people. My friends are like, maybe you should go to a doctor. I'm like, you won't get it and you don't need to get it. But it's like the whisper within me that's been telling me this. And so anyways, I've been off deodorant for over 3 or 4 weeks. I haven't put anything on. I can't. I get a reaction if I do. And it's like a lifetime of toxic shit that I put on my armpits, which are my lymph nodes, which are my detox pathways. Like it makes sense. My body's like, please stop. We're trying to like purify and keep you as pure and clean as we can so that you're an energetic conduit for life. And you keep like blocking it. And so anyways, this may be a little woo-woo for some of you, but like if you're feeling that and you're starting to have a lot of reactions, because I've had so many people message me, understand that I want you to see nutrition and health and prioritizing your well-being as self-respect, as honor, self-honor, as a true loving act for you and your body and all those baby cells that are in your body. I want you to picture if you're a mom screaming at your kid, telling them they're ugly, they're fat, they're useless, they're not good enough. And then imagine what their face would do. Imagine telling them that like they're a loser, they're an idiot, they're not good enough, they're never going to be able to do anything. They can't actually complete that. They're not successful. They're never going to be successful. They don't have the capacity within them. You're too fat, you're too ugly, you're too not cool. Like think of whatever. I can't even think of mean things to say. Imagine the things that you say to yourself. Now imagine speaking that into a baby, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old, whatever age child you have. And now imagine their face and them being so confused because all they know from baby young age is love. And then when they have this meanness and this like evilness and this hatred come at them, what does that do to them? It imposes limiting beliefs on them that make them feel like they're not capable and not able to achieve all the things they want to achieve. And for some of you, you may have been that child and your parents may have said stuff like this to you. Now is the time that you get to realize that like that's not your fault that you believe these things about you, but you get to choose differently. You get to rewire those stories and those programs and choose to say different things to yourself and create a love for yourself that's not that, and rewrite those stories and rewrite those words. But the reason I'm asking you to do this is because I want you to imagine that every time you say those things in your mind, that is the beliefs and the energy and what you're sending to your body and your cells. And we have this disconnect where we think like, oh, well, we're not being mean to other people, so we're totally good. But imagine you talked to other people the way that you talk within your own mind to yourself. And I know this because I'm a female. Like you probably, if you go on Instagram, you look and you're like, oh, my lips aren't big enough or my eyes aren't big enough or I have wrinkles or I should get a BBL because that's what these girls have. And like they got liposuction, so I should get liposuction. And like I'm fat because I don't have abs and this girl has abs. Like whatever the thoughts are, you're always constantly critiquing yourself and feeling not enough. And a superpower of yours is starting to realize like, whoa, this body and this vessel is allowing you to live this life and do all the things. And it's going to be the thing that allows you to manifest and create and impact others and show love to people. Like our body is the least cool thing about us, but and our beauty too, but we've been made to believe that they're the most important things and the only things that we should really care about and the only things that make us worthy. And it's not true. So the reason I bring that up is because you need to be having really good habits and taking care of you if you want to create all the things that you want to create in this life. And when you take care of you, you become more powerful. When you have self-confidence in you, you become more powerful. And so simple good habits that you can obviously add in: meditation, breath work, things that bring you into you where you're truly connected to you. Because if you're constantly on Instagram or looking at TikTok or looking at other things or talking to friends or listening to podcasts, all of these things can be great, but they can also take you so, sorry, disconnect you so far from yourself that you don't even know what your own voice is. You can't even hear when the whispers are trying to talk to you, and you don't even know what you really want or desire because you've been bombarded by other thoughts all day that are making you believe that you want certain things that you may not even want or need. So make sure you're taking time to truly just be with you and create safety in that. I know if you've never been if you've been running your whole life staying busy and not being allowing yourself to be alone, it can feel really scary. I know for me, it felt scary. I was hyper productive 24/7, always had to be achieving. I tied worth to that I was so good at school, that I was so good at, getting good grades, that I was so good at everything I did, that I was so productive, that I was always finding success and I was always winning. Um, but I realized it was like, it's a form of running an addiction too. You're scared to be alone and you're scared to be with yourself and you don't think you're good enough. So it's like, I'd rather be with all these other people because it's too scary to be with me because my own thoughts are not nice and I don't really like who I am. You need to find a true love for who you are. I'm at a phase in my life right now where I love being alone. I might not even leave my house today. Like, I may just be alone with myself. And then I have to realize, like, okay, you can love all that, but you also need to go and connect with other human beings. And that can be a tough transition too. But I think learning, the reason that this all came up is because breathwork and meditation can force you to be with yourself. And that's really important, to be able to create space to be with you, because it's powerful and it's how you start to really get to know yourself again and what you truly want and desire. And then that allows you to call in whatever it is you want to call in terms of like money manifestation and all the things. So another thing, the reason I talked about the purifying, because when you're eating really well and you're taking care of yourself, so like a healthy nutrient dense diet, because you're imagining every time you put in a live food. So let's say you eat a tomato or an apple or fresh strawberries from the garden that are like down the street and you picked them up from a farm, or raspberries, or I don't know, leafy greens, like whatever food you like to eat. Imagine you're putting in those alive cells, which means foods that rot is what you want to be putting in your body most of the time. You're putting those in your body. And the way I see it, whenever I eat all of these nutrients, I'm like, my whole system and all my cells in my body are like having a happy dance because I'm giving them alive nutrients that are allowing them to stay healthy and fed. When we feed our bodies dead foods, it's kind of like, see them all doing a sad dance. Not that bad foods are bad, or like foods that are void of nutrients, like all the stuff that's packaged or not really alive, or wheat products, whatever. Imagine like cookies and crackers and all that stuff. Those are not bad in moderation, but imagine that's kind of what you're living on. It's just bread and cookies and crackers and pasta with no veggies. And that's all you're eating. Like eventually your cells are going to be kind of like, wah, 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 wah. Like they're just hoping for some alive food. They're just waiting, starving for it. So every time you put in nutrient dense foods and like really healthy foods into your body is more alive. You're going to have more vibrancy. You're going to have more energy because all those millions, billions of cells that are in your body are getting fed alive nutrients that's allowing them to be their best. Okay. So don't just imagine it's like, oh, I'm eating carrots because I want to be skinny and like this is what I saw. And it like, no, that's not the energy. You want to be eating the foods because you're like, oh, this is so nice. And all my cells are so happy because they're getting nutrients. And so they feel great. Does this make sense? So like feed your body nutrient dense foods out of love and respect for you and that body that's carrying you through life. Like I said earlier, practicing gratitude. So that's another one. Like practice gratitude any way you can. When you're eating your food, be grateful for it. Be grateful for the people who allowed the food to get to you. Show gratitude if there is a farmer's market, because I'm thinking about me. I grab as much as I can locally right now. Like say thank you. Thank you for providing me this food. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the community in order to bring me this. Show gratitude to your friends. Show gratitude when people show up in your life and do something for you. Show gratitude to people in your business. Show gratitude to people who comment on your Instagram, who share your posts. Like I say thank you to every person who shares my post. If you share one of my posts, I'm going to say thank you. Almost every single time. I may miss a couple, but like if I see it right at the top when it like shows you who's reshared stuff, I always say thank you because I'm so grateful that you're even taking in my content and then now sharing it with others. I really, truly mean that. I'm so grateful for it. Um, yoga, you guys, yoga for me, because meditation is really hard. Driving for me is like my meditation. Walking in nature with nothing else is like my meditation. And doing yoga is like my meditation. It brings me into my body and with my own thoughts. Being kind to yourself. We already talked about this. Doing daily exercise, find a way to move your body. It doesn't have to be super intense. It doesn't have to be crushing it and doing HIIT workouts, but find a way to move your body. Taking time for self-care, not just like doing your hair and nails, but like true self-care. What makes you feel best and connected and like re-energized within you? Maybe it's reading a book and having tea. Maybe it's having a bath. Maybe it's pampering yourself with like body care and oils and scents. Maybe it's all of that. Um, yeah, and just spread positivity. Like if it works better for you to wake up early and start to work on what you want to work on, whatever it is, like just starting to get to know you. So that was kind of long. It's an hour. I thought I was going to talk for 25 minutes, but here we are, 55 minutes in. And I just, yeah, I really hope that you start to see that you are so wildly capable of everything and anything you've ever wanted. If you have a desire in your heart, you've probably seen memes like this, but it's only there for you because it's meant for you. I truly believe the things that I desire may not be the same as what you desire because they're not meant for you. Your desires are probably different. Some of you may have the same desires, but some of you are going to be super different. What you truly want and desire, it's because it's for you and your unique path, and you're meant to go create that and chase that. So just remember that, and remember that like the only limitations are the ones you're putting upon yourself. They don't exist. All the stories that you have for why you can or why you're not good enough or like why your life is the way it is, they're all just stories. You get to choose to pick a different one if you want to and believe something else if you want to. And you're capable of whatever you want in this life. And like if you need money in order to do that, then you need to shift your beliefs around money. Practice writing down that you make more than that. Start seeing bigger numbers. Like I've had to work on this every time that I've grown in my business and I've hit an income that I used to want. I start thinking about the next number that I want to hit, not out of a constant chase or feeling like I need to constantly be achieving more, but out of a place of like, okay, we've hit this level now. I'm ready to create space for more. Because when I create space for more for me, I create space for more for others. And you have that ability too. So sending you so much love. Show love to your body today. Show gratitude to your body. Say thank you. Go eat nutrient-dense foods. Like start juicing. I've been juicing lately. It feels so good. I'm saving all of the pulp because I can't believe how much is wasted, and I'm going to make like a soup out of it or something, just to make sure that I'm eating it all. And yeah, just I would say like take time to have gratitude for you. Show gratitude for everything that you already have in your life and the money that you have, and then create space to say, okay, I'm ready to call in more. And pick something that feels like you can see it within the next year, and then go decide and go after that thing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. If you share this episode, I appreciate you so much. Send it to somebody if you feel like you know someone who could benefit. Please do. Sharing it is so helpful, and just letting other people know that this podcast is here. I don't pay for any ads or anything. I truly am just doing this as like a space for me to be able to speak and talk and give you guys more, because could you imagine if I tried to do this in Instagram stories? It would be like it's crazy. It would be 60 little dots of me trying to talk on Instagram stories. So I really appreciate you guys being here and listening. And this is coming from me, no caffeine, day 2 parasite cleanse. And I had a whole idea of what I wanted to say. And this is where, again, you guys, like I did another episode like a couple weeks ago, and you guys were all sharing it and said it was so helpful. And with this one too right now, I'm like, did I even say anything of value? Like I will question myself even still, and I'm like, I didn't even make a proper point. Like why do I go all over the place? Like I can't just execute the thoughts that I had in my head earlier. Why can I get them to come out when I speak? So just know, I know there's going to be some of you who listen to this and it's really helpful. But even still, I second guess it and think that I said nothing of value, and then I can't articulate my thoughts sometimes. So thank you so much for listening. I love it when you guys share. And I just appreciate you guys being here so much. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. You can also, I have been posting them on YouTube. So if you like to watch them in Spotify, you can watch them, but Apple Podcasts is just audio. So if you like to watch them, you can do that with those 2 options. So Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope you have an amazing day.